Please give a very warm Girl Talk welcome to your host for Girl Talk Day 2019, Sarah Nicole Landry.
Katie, our founder, when she asked me to host this, she said, would you take 15 minutes and kind of take a moment to share a little bit of your own story as well? And I want you to talk as if you were speaking to your own younger self. So I sat down and I tried to write this speech. And every time I did, I couldn't quite get past the first line. Because to be honest with you, the second I went back into thinking of my 13-year-old self, my 14-year-old self, my 15-year-old self, all I could think of is how badly I just wanted to give her a hug and how hard I knew that season was. And just a disclaimer, I had an incredible childhood. I had amazing supportive parents. I had an amazing home. We did incredible things. We took vacations every year. I had a great, great, great childhood. So why was it hard? And why don't I have memories of all these great things that happened? But I remember certain things. I remember down to the detail of what I was wearing when I was 13 years old and standing in the hallways of my school when a boy came up to me and said, gosh, did you eat too many cheeseburgers on that vacation? I was wearing purple plaid corduroy pants. I was wearing jelly sandals. I was wearing a purple velvet crushed crop top with daisies on it. I remember every single detail of that moment. I remember the day that I stood in my friend's bedroom and I found a drawing that her and another girl had made of me. These were my best friends. They drew me as the Michelin Man with a bunch of words around it that called me fat and disgusting and ugly. It was the original version of my own life burn book, and I found it. But instead of calling them out on that behavior, I laughed along with them because I didn't know what else to do. I remember the smells of that room. I remember the looks on their faces. I remember what their bedding looked like. I remember everything about that moment. I remember going to a gym when I was 14 years old because I really thought that maybe if I just worked out and exercised that I was going to feel better about my body and I was going to feel way more empowered about life. So I went to the gym at 14 years old and the trainer stood there and had me measure my fat inch by inch to tell me that I was overweight. I remember these moments, and I remember what I was wearing, and I remember the sights and sounds in that room, but I don't remember what vacations I took that year. I don't remember what kind of memories I made with my friends or all of these amazing things that I know happened, but they're not there. They're not there because those bad moments and those little comments, they became trauma for me, and they carried on for the next 20 years of my life and became a dialogue that I would listen to over and over again. I never wore a crop top again until this past year. That's how long it took me to take back those words that were said to me all those years ago. But flash forward through this a little bit. At 19, I got married, which is a little young, but you know, I'm doing me. My mom's sitting in the front row and she's just like, yeah, I remember you as a teenager getting engaged and getting married. That was fun. But it gave me this really cool life that came from there because at 20, I got pregnant with my first daughter, Maya. At 21, she was born. At 22, I got pregnant again. At 23, my daughter, Gemma Bryn, was born. At 24, I got pregnant again. And my son, Bowden, was born. I was 25 and I had 3 children. I had stretch marks from my hip to my rib cage. And I thought, you know, my body was already crap. So what does it matter that it's just a little bit worse? And I channeled everything that I was into them. And they became my pillars of my worth. If they walked around looking good, if their hair was great and they wore cute clothes, they could be everything that I wasn't. For all those years. They could wear the things that I thought I couldn't wear. They could live outside the boxes that I had put myself in. And I poured myself into them over and over again. While I, every morning, woke up, had a shower, put my hair in a bun, didn't wear makeup, wore sweats, and just lived my life trying to give them a really good one. But here's this a little bit of information that you might come into a later point in life. If you pour out of yourself all the time, you're not really filling yourself back up. So here I was, I'm 225 pounds, and I'm exhausted. And I no longer can keep outpouring into these amazing children because I am a human too, and it slowly started to wake up in me. And I thought, you know what? For the first time ever, I'm going to lose that weight, and I'm going to get that life that I deserve. So I did it. I'm not going to tell you how I did it because I don't want you thinking that when you go home, but I lost 100 pounds in the span of 2 years. And the internet loved me for it. I was told constantly how great I looked. I was constantly praised for my weight loss and for my achievements. Nobody really knew how restrictive I had become, how much I was working out, and what was going on in the background of my life, which was a very messy divorce, me moving back in with my parents with 3 kids, and restarting my life completely. I was 114 pounds when the compliments continued to come in on a daily basis. And that's the moment I realized, I'm not happy. So what do you do now? You've lost all the weight. You've done all the things that society has constantly told you is going to make you happy. And it's not working. So I started to flip the switch a little bit. I started to wake up and become aware to my influence. I started to delete those comments in my brain that were carrying around with me for 20 years. And I started to share real things that were happening in my life. Things like cellulite that are really, really normal, and stretch marks from having kids, which again is very, very normal. It's normal to have a fluctuating weight. It's normal to come in all different shapes and sizes. And I started to understand that our society has pushed towards this one type of goal for women. Men don't have it so much, but for women, we're told that we should look this one way. And we follow people for that inspiration. We try and dress like they dress. We do everything we can to be like that mold. And we constantly feel like we fail. So after 20 years of living in this society of diet culture, I quit. I gave up on it. I was exhausted. I was tired. And I decided to start sharing for one, but also taking in an influence that was completely different. I unfollowed every single account on Instagram that made me feel like crap. Sometimes I couldn't explain why they made me feel like crap, but I just did it. And then I started to follow ones that made me feel empowered. The ones that had diverse beauty, that came in all shapes and sizes and color. I stopped just following women that I wanted myself to look like or I thought looked like me, and I started following so many of them. And these images of beauty, they started to change something in me. I started to become attracted to stretch marks and cellulite. I started to be empowered by women of all different shapes and sizes. I stopped being so scared of what weight gain looked like or how much my identity was in that, because it wasn't. And I started to show up and make memories that were the right ones. I started going to the beach with my kids. I started swimming and getting in bathing suits again. I stopped wearing t-shirts over them and telling my friends like I used to that it was just a bad sunburn that I had to cover up. I started realizing that beauty has an amazing amount of facets, and if I don't show up in the body I am with the worth that I am and that you all have, then that's the only way we can normalize the human body and the woman's body. So I really, really, truly want you to take away this message today, because I don't want you to go back and think the same things that I thought for all those years. If I were sitting in the seats today, I would want to hear one thing. You're worthy right now. You're worthy if you gain 10 pounds or lose 20. You're worthy 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Your worth will never be defined by your size and your image. Your body is the least interesting part of you. There is so much more to each of us. And the moment we realize that, and the moment we start to tune in to how amazing life can be, everything changes. So thank you so much. I'm so excited for the rest of this day. I hope that you all have the most inspiring and incredible messages that you take in today. And yeah, let's get started to the rest of the show.